Welcome to Language Practice Hub.
I am Harry. Welcome to Language Practice Hub. It is great to have you here. Today, we are going to talk about a very important quality that can make a big difference in your life and in your English learning journey. That quality is called curiosity. So, what exactly is curiosity? Curiosity means having a strong desire to know, learn, discover, or understand something. When you are curious, you do not just accept everything without thinking. You want to know more. You ask questions. You look for answers. You observe carefully. You listen carefully. And most importantly, you enjoy discovering something new. For example, imagine you are walking down the street and you see a building that you have never seen before. A person who is not curious may simply walk past it. But a curious person may think, what is this building? Who built it? What is inside? How old is it? That simple desire to know more is curiosity. Curiosity is important because it helps us learn. In fact, many things we know today started with a simple question. Someone asked, why? Someone asked, how? Someone asked, what if? Questions can lead to knowledge, and knowledge can lead to growth. Now, let us connect curiosity with English learning. If you are learning English, curiosity can become one of your best learning tools. You do not need to study English only from a textbook. You can learn English from movies, songs, conversations, podcasts, social media, books, and everyday situations. For example, imagine you are watching an English movie. Suddenly, you hear someone say, "It's up to you." You understand the individual words, it, up, and you. But maybe you do not understand the complete meaning. Instead of ignoring the sentence, become curious. Ask yourself, what does "it's up to you" mean? Then you discover that it means, you can decide. For example, your friend asks, do you want to eat pizza or burgers? You say, it's up to you. That means your friend can choose. You have just learned a useful English expression through curiosity. Here is another example. Imagine you hear someone say, I'm starving. Maybe you know the word star. Maybe you think starving has something to do with stars. But if you are curious, you will check the meaning. Then you discover that I'm starving is an informal way to say, I'm very hungry. Now imagine hearing that phrase again in another movie or conversation. Because you were curious the first time, you are more likely to recognize it quickly. This is how curiosity helps your memory. Curiosity also improves your listening skills. Many English learners say, I can read English, but I cannot understand English when people speak. If you have this problem, do not worry. You are not alone. Sometimes English sounds difficult because people speak quickly. They connect words together. They use short forms. They may also use informal expressions. For example, someone may say, what are you going to do? But in natural conversation, you may hear something closer to, what are you going to do? If you are not familiar with gonna, you may feel confused. But curiosity tells you to stop and ask, what did I just hear? You listen again. What are you gonna do? Then you learn that gonna is a common informal pronunciation of going to. Now you can recognize it the next time you hear it. Here is another example. Someone says, did you eat yet? You may know every word, but the pronunciation may sound very fast. You might hear something like, "Didja eat yet?" Again, do not become frustrated. Become curious. Ask yourself, why does it sound different? Then you can learn how words are often connected in natural spoken English. This is why listening practice is so important. Do not only listen to understand the meaning. Listen to understand how English actually sounds. Listen to the pronunciation. Listen to the rhythm. Listen to the pauses. Listen to the way words connect. Listen to the emotion in the speaker's voice. And when you hear something interesting, ask yourself why. Curiosity can also help you learn vocabulary naturally. Imagine you hear the word exhausted. You may already know the word tired. So you may ask, what is the difference between tired and exhausted? That is a great question. Tired means you need rest. Exhausted means you are extremely tired. For example, after walking for 10 minutes, you might say, "I'm tired." But after working all day, traveling for many hours, or running a marathon, you might say, "I'm exhausted." Now you understand not only the meaning of the word, but also when to use it. That is real learning. Curiosity also encourages you to create your own examples. If you learn the phrase, "I'm looking forward to it," do not just memorize it. Use it. For example, "I'm looking forward to the weekend," or "I'm looking forward to meeting my friends," or "I'm looking forward to learning more English." When you create your own sentences, the language becomes more familiar. Another important thing about curiosity is that it makes learning more enjoyable. If someone forces you to memorize 50 words every day, you may feel tired or bored. But if you discover 5 interesting words from a movie, a conversation, or a story, you may remember them more easily because you were interested in them. For example, you hear someone say, "That sounds amazing." You already know amazing, but you become curious about other words with a similar meaning. You discover fantastic, wonderful, excellent, incredible, and awesome. Now one word has led you to 5 more words. That is the power of curiosity. Curiosity can also help you understand different cultures. Language and culture are closely connected. Sometimes an English expression makes sense only when you understand the culture behind it. For example, people may say, "break a leg before a performance." A beginner might think, why would someone wish another person a broken leg? But curiosity makes you ask, what does this expression really mean? Then you learn that "break a leg" is commonly used to wish someone good luck before a performance. This kind of discovery makes English more interesting. Remember, you do not need to understand everything the first time you listen. If you understand 30% today, that is okay. Listen again. Maybe you understand 50%. Listen again tomorrow. Maybe you understand 70%. With regular practice, your ears slowly become familiar with English. So, when you hear something you do not understand, do not immediately say, "My English is bad." Instead say, "Interesting. I want to understand this." That small change in your thinking can make a big difference. Be curious about new words. Be curious about pronunciation. Be curious about grammar. Be curious about accents. Be curious about expressions. Be curious about how native speakers communicate. And most importantly, be curious about your own progress. Ask yourself, What did I learn today? Maybe you learned one new word. Maybe you understood one sentence that you could not understand yesterday. Maybe you finally recognized a phrase in a movie. Maybe you spoke English for 5 minutes without feeling nervous. These small achievements matter. Learning English is not a competition. You do not need to become fluent overnight. You only need to continue moving forward. One word today, one sentence tomorrow, one conversation next week, one new skill next month. Slow progress is still progress. So, my dear English learners, remember this. Curiosity turns ordinary moments into learning opportunities. When you hear a new word, ask about it. When you hear a strange expression, explore it. When you do not understand a sentence, listen again. When you make a mistake, learn from it. And when you discover something new, try to use it. The more curious you become, the more you will notice. The more you notice, the more you will learn. And the more you learn, the more confident you will become. Thank you so much for listening and practicing English with me today. I'm Harry, and I hope this lesson helped you understand the meaning and importance of curiosity. Remember, keep your ears open, keep your mind active, and never be afraid to ask, why? Or what does this mean? Keep listening, keep speaking, keep learning, and most importantly, keep being curious. We will meet again in another interesting English listening practice topic. Until then, follow and subscribe to Language Practice Hub, and stay connected with our channel for more simple English lessons, useful vocabulary, listening practice, and everyday English conversations. Take care of yourself, keep practicing every day, and remember that every new word brings you one step closer to better English. I'm Harry, and I'll see you in the next lesson. Goodbye, and keep learning.
Thanks for watching. Keep learning, keep growing. See you in the next lesson.